Hey guys, we are back at the Scavver Settlement from the previous video, and today we are building a small cluster of Scavver homes, one of many, which will be surrounding the tower we built in the previous video. Now, if you don't want to see the build process, there is a link in the video description that will jump straight to the tour. I do currently have a cold, so my voice sounds a little bit funny, so if you're hearing that, I do apologize. Well, let's get started, shall we? So the basic idea behind today's build is that the initial group of Scabbers that settled this location built up the electrical tower, and any subsequent Scabbers that moved in and were attracted to this location had to set up, their homes in smaller clusters, kind of around the tower, kind of mixed in with the different piles of scrap that were, brought to this location so they could be salvaged. And many of the structures we're going to build today are improvised, or at least have an improvised feel, and they're going to be made out of shipping containers and vehicles, which should be plentiful, seeing as there are 3 different roads surrounding this location. So this first structure here, we used a shipping container base, and then we went ahead and added a few of the wood bits just to kind of change up that texture a little bit, and then finish it off with this little metal end cap to kind of change up the boxy nature of the structure. Now I wanted this first structure to feel a little cramped, so now that we have it built, we're going to sink it into the ground a little bit and just kind of give it a cave-like feel. Just a matter of getting it so it's not clipping with those trees there, and also have it so it's the right height so we can use this curved plyboard to get to the roof really easily. So just got to sink it down just a little bit more, and that should be enough. There we go. Nice. Now we're just going to cover up a little bit more of that shipping container, but I still want it to be visible on the inside. So we're just going to take one of these half walls from the Homemaker mod and just kind of glitch it into place, just so, to block off some of that, shipping container side there, break up the texture a little bit further, and change the color a little bit too. Just a matter of getting it so the gap isn't quite as noticeable. I think we got it there. Now, I've definitely used this technique before at Taffington, where we're going to kind of use a half wall of the shipping container here, and then we're going to put a wood wall there just to break it up a little bit, and it really has a nice kind of scavenged feel to it. Just a matter of getting that to snap into place. You see I have a little bit of trouble there. I do eventually get it in. Nice. Now we have one last gap to cover up, and that's going to be this end cap here for the hall leading out of this dwelling. And we're going to change up the material yet again, use this corrugated steel. It just really adds to the kind of scavenged nature of this building. Just want to get it so it's not clipping through too much. It's okay if it clips a little bit. It is corrugated steel, so it will tear and bend. And now to work on the upper level, and we're going to go ahead and use another shipping container. And this one was a little tricky just to get exactly right. The basic idea is you want to get it so it's not clipping through the roof of the bottom shipping container, and also wanted to keep it from clipping with this tree here. It's just about getting the angle right, so it wasn't terribly difficult, but it did take a little bit of time. And the other one should just snap in, and we want to make sure it makes contact with those rocks there. We will support it from underneath, so it should be okay. So you can see there, the tree does clip with the roof as well as the wall of that shipping container. But I think if we just put a half wall in as well as one of the half roofs, we can actually just leave it like that, as if, those parts rusted away and they were able to just salvage this much of that shipping container. And I think the end product ends up looking really cool. Nice. Now for the support here, we're going to use one of these bombed out vans. You know how much I like using vehicles. And it's just a matter of getting the height right. Now it will clip through the floor there a little bit, but we're going to put some furniture in there. You won't even be able to notice. Now for the rock outcroppings, we're going to start with one of these capsules. And we just want to get it sunk into the rock there, just so it looks like the metal supports are, holding it up. But I wanted to keep the feet completely buried in. So you can see they're just adjusting the height and the angles slightly. Nice. In the vendor section of Thematic and Practical, they have these floors that have these wooden support beams. And so we're going to get it so it's perched on the rock. And the idea is that we just get the supports completely buried in. The best thing about these floors is that they're not square, so you can make some pretty interesting shapes, and they just snap together like you can see here. So I wanted to mix in some of these shack bridges to just kind of change it up so it's not all of this flooring everywhere. It just kind of makes it look a little bit more thrown together and just kind of built around the landscape. That initial flooring was a little bit too close to the edge, so I'm going to slide it forward a little bit. Now with that flooring moved, the other pieces should just snap into place. Nice. So for the doorway of the little shack we're going to build up here, I'm just going to go ahead and place that on there just because, it won't snap because the flooring is in the way. And then the other pieces of the wall just snap onto place, so I'm not going to go ahead and show all of that. Just a matter of lining it up along the edge there. With the other shack complete, we're going to move up the hill a little bit, and we're going to go back to Thematic and Practical and place down some more of that flooring. So the idea is to get it so it looks like it's resting on the rock, but still being supported by those pillars. Nice. So in an effort to change it up a little bit and not use too many of the Thematic and Practical assets, we're going to go ahead and use some of these half shack wall and roof combos, and we're just going to go ahead and place that on there. It'll look nice because it doesn't quite fit on the floor, and it really lends itself to the improvised nature of this structure. But as you can see, I'm having a little bit of difficulty getting exactly lined up since it is a little bit wider than that floor is, and I always seem to forget I can just change the scale of things with place everywhere, and so I eventually figure it out. There it is. And with it set at 90 degrees, you can barely notice the difference, but it does fit on the flooring this time. Looks pretty good. So now that I take a second look at it, that flooring is just off to me. So I think I'm going to flip it around the other way. I think it looks a little bit better, having the angled pillar kind of go into the other side of the rock there. Then I just have to move the shack wall and roof a little bit, get it lined up again. Nice. So I wanted to extend this platform a little bit, so we're going to take another piece of Thematic and Practical flooring and just glitch it into place. It's going to create a nice odd-shaped structure, and it's just a matter of getting it so it doesn't stick out too far over the walkway up to the capsule there, but still angled so it just creates a more interesting structure. So we're going to have to fill in this gap made by the flooring, so we're going to go back into Thematic and Practical and use some of these triangle pieces here to just kind of fill out that space a little bit. It's going to take a few of them, but we can glitch them into place so it looks natural. Just a matter of getting the levels right. Nice. So we're going to need a way for settlers to get up to this platform, so I'm going to go ahead and use some of these shack bridges from G2M. That's a great mod, by the way. It was suggested in the comments a few videos back, and I love it. Highly recommended. Just a matter of finding the right angle ramp. I think this one's going to work out really well, and it should glitch around the pillar there. Nice. Now for the other side of the platform, we're going to use the same technique we used just a few minutes ago, and take one of these shack wall and roof combos, shrink it down to 90%, and just kind of bury it into the floor. Now I thought I would change it up by moving it all the way to the edge of the flooring, but it just didn't look right, and it sticks out a little bit there. And I think it looks a little bit better if the part that sticks out is the flooring in the front. You can use it as a platform to put a barrel or a turret or something on there. So I wanted to add a curtain rod to the front of this little mini shack here. So we're going to use a conduit and just shrink it down to about 90%, and it should just glitch into place. Nice. So with the conduit in place, we're going to go ahead and add the curtains now. Just a matter of picking the right one, and then we're going to go ahead and glitch it into place so that the rings look like they're going around the conduit, and it looks like you could slide it back and forth. Looks like we almost got it. Nice. And we're back to G2M for more of these angled shack bridges. And I'd like to change it up a little bit from instead of using shack bridges all over the place. And it kind of helps the structure conform to the shape of the rock. It just looks a little bit off, so we're going to go ahead and shrink that down a little bit. And you can see I'm just kind of playing with the angle there. And again, that sticks out a little bit too much. So I think if we shrink it down just a little bit more, we can angle it back the way we originally had it. Now that is going to leave a gap a little bit between the bridge and the flooring, but I think a piece of plyboard will cover that up nicely. Now we're going to create another platform here, just as a way to kind of step up to the storage areas we just made. And we're going to use thematic and practical flooring again, and just a matter of getting it lined up with the shipping container there, but not clipping in with the floor too much. You still want to be able to see the supports. And here we go with the final ramp to get up to the structure, just a matter of getting the height right. And I think that's a little too close to the shipping container, so we're going to go ahead and slide that over a little bit. Also, then it'll be fully buried into the dirt there. Now, I wasn't completely satisfied with the amount of support for that shipping container, so we're going to take a junk wall and just kind of angle it into place, just so it looks like it has a little extra support. So I'm going to add a couple more dwellings here just to kind of flesh out this part of the build, and we're going to use vehicles for those, and just a matter of getting it buried into the ground and also into the hill a little bit there to act as one of the walls. So one of the problems with living in a car, is space. So we're going to add a makeshift balcony to the top of the car here, and we're going to use some floorboards there and just bury them into the ground. But we want to get the height right because we don't want them to clip with the roof of the car too much. So you can see that's a little bit too low. We're going to have to raise that up a bit. But the nice thing is, once you get the first one in place, the rest of the boards just snap to it, and it'll create a nice little platform here. We could have kind of a seating area up above the living space. So I wasn't completely satisfied with the way the platform looked. It just looked a little bare. And to fill out that space, we're going to go ahead and add another car kind of hanging out over the edge there. And it's just a matter of lining it up with the floorboards. So I felt like it needed a little bit of extra support. So I'm going to go ahead and use one of these junk fences there, the one with the tires on it. And the tires can act as a support. Now, the actual wall part of that fence is going to clip with the vehicle there, but I think we can use sandbags to cover that up so you won't even see it. Just a matter of getting the height right, and I kept experimenting, but I think it looks best with the tires actually touching the car, so it looks like they're the thing that's actually providing the support and not the wooden beams. There we go. So the wall stuck up a little bit higher than I was hoping, so we're going to go ahead and put one of these chairs in there just to kind of cover up that wall. It looks pretty good. And now for the sandbags to cover up the lower portion of that wall. And the great thing about the sandbags is if it clips with the vehicle, it actually looks like they're just kind of bending around and taking a different shape because it's, sandbags pressed against metal. And then I'm going to add one of these fences here just to act as a, support for the sandbags to keep them from falling out from underneath that car. Just want to get it so it doesn't clip with the vehicle too much. Nice. So now we're going to go into the Homemaker mod and take one of these shack wall and roof combos that come with that mod. We're just going to bury it into the ground, create kind of a covered eating area in between these trees here. And I tried this out a bunch of different times, which way I want this oriented, and I ended up spinning this around a little bit. Now, it is a very cramped area, but I think that really fits with the scavenger theme of this place. Plus, it looks really junky, and it fits in perfectly in the middle of these trees. Nice. The other two half walls just snapped into place, but this one was being a big pain, so I'm going to have to use Place Everywhere to just put it in there and glitch it in so it looks like it's attached. It wasn't too difficult, just lining it up correctly with the other board there. It looks pretty good. For the final dwelling, I figured I'd make a camper on the back of this truck, and we're going to use junk walls for the sides. Just a matter of getting them approximately the right height. It's okay if they're off a little bit. It'll just lend itself to the scavenged nature of this building. For the roof, we're going to go ahead and use one of these full-size shack floors. And it's just a matter of getting the angle correct, and then also, getting the spacing right just so that it's relatively even on all four sides. Now, by using junk walls against the curved surface of the truck, it just created some gaps that I wasn't completely happy with. So we're going to go ahead and use some of these half walls from the Homemaker mod to just kind of fill out some of those holes. Now, most campers have an area that sticks out over the cab of the vehicle, and so that's what we're going to build here. And it can be used as a lookout for the scavver that lives in this shack, just to see who's coming. Now, because it's kind of narrow, we're going to have to glitch the floorboards, to create one unified platform, but it's not too difficult. Now, the platform we created also created some extra gaps, so we're going to use some of these torn apart walls from the warehouse tab, and it also add corrugated steel, which kind of breaks up the texture even more and makes it look a little more junky. So now to fill up the largest gap in this wall, and that's going to be the window, or what was the window for the cab into the bed of the truck. And I'm just going to use sandbags to fill out that area. And so I'm just going to show you a few of them here. And I turn off object physics because they just drop right through. I suppose you could use the pillar to glitch them in there as well. Now with the structure complete, just to add a little bit of security. Now I did use this same technique at my Taffington Boathouse build, and we're just going to go ahead and glitch one of these turrets in the cab there. Now to provide a little bit of support for the turret, we're going to add some sandbags, and it also covers up the fact that the turret's kind of glitched into place. And so we just fill in the sandbags there. You just want to make sure that they're not glitching through the back of the truck at all. And you want to get it so it doesn't clip at all with the turret itself. So just raise the turret up slightly. There we go. Nice. So here we are at one of the entrances to this housing cluster. And you can see we have some supplies and some crates set out, as well as some water barrels. Now coming across to this first shack, we have a small workshop area. So you can see various components laid about. Looks like this guy has a disassembled 10mm pistol, some circuit boards there, various chemicals, and a makeshift battery. Well, some nuclear materials there, complete with the sign. Just different ads we found to break up the textures a little bit, make the wall a little more interesting, feel a little more homey. And then of course we have some chems there, mentats for when you need to study, and jet when you need to relax. Some cleaning supplies there as well. I really like how small and cramped these shacks feel. Has a very scavenged look to it as well. Now heading out here, we can turn the corner and head over to that capsule we put in here earlier. And the scavengers have used that as a makeshift storage area. It's a little more secure than the wooden structures, and so they have some valuables in there, as well as quite a bit of food and some booze. Looks like they were able to scavenge from a vault. Got a pretty nice laser rifle there, some ammo and melee weapons there on the ground as well. And quite the stash of food. That should keep them going for a little while. Then, of course, we have some fresh food here. Abernathy Farm is just right up the road there, and I imagine they would be able to trade scrap for food pretty easily. I really like the kind of mix of pre-made structures with the kind of broken up junky shacks. It fits in really well, especially with the rock and the hill here. I really like how that pathway kind of curves as well. It looks really cool. So walking down here, we can actually go into the first structure that we built. And of course you can see the Scavver Tower there. Not too far away. Looks like we have a Jangles the Moon Monkey there, as well as a teddy bear. I don't think they're gonna get anywhere fast, but you know, won't stop them from trying. Now I really like how this turned out. It really kind of feels like a cave. You can see the scrap piles there, right across from some tools. And of course we have some plants growing. I particularly like the way the uneven ground really kind of fits in with the junky feel to this structure. You can see this guy is surrounded by scrap. And of course he has some psycho there. Little teddy bear keeping an eye on things. I like how all the different materials kind of come together and create one big junky structure. It really does feel really junky. There's going to be a lot more of that coming, particularly in this settlement. Well, and of course you have a pink flamingo. Got to have a little bit of style, I suppose. Now heading out here to the rest of the housing that we put together. But before we check that out, let's go around the corner to the right here. And we have this little alleyway. Now there's not much built down here, but you do see you have a little panic bag stuffed in the back. I guess the bears, they're trying to flee. Now as we back out to the main living area, you can really see all of the different foliage, and it's really overgrown. I don't know, I just like the way that looks and kind of mixes in with the structures. Over here we have our cooking area. Get a good view of those sandbags there and the supports for the vehicles. And here we have that little covered shack area we put together earlier. And it looks like they have a small covered eating space. Little personal cooker there, as well as some food and alcohol laid out, just in case it rains. Although the sides are open, but it will protect you a little bit. Again, completely surrounded by trees and brush. Now walking over here, we have that makeshift camper we put together. And you can see somebody's moved in and made quite a nice little home out of it. Of course, you have some tools and food there. Looks like he has a sniper rifle. I believe that's Conquered straight ahead. Has a great view to take out anyone coming for you. Of course, you got a sleeping bag there. Not everybody can have a mattress. Now, taking a look at the side here, Looks like he has a doghouse there. Gotta have man's best friend with you. Not quite sure where the dog is. And it looks like he has a fresh kill there, complete with a machete right there on the side of the doghouse, ready for butchering. And being a scavenger, of course, there's some leather tanning there. Got to make your own armor and clothing. Being watched by a turret there. And on this other side here, we have a little butcher station. Of course, all of the hunting that they're able to do and get fresh meats from different rad stags or mongrel dogs, whatever they're able to get their hands on. That does look really cool in the middle of those trees. And of course, over here we have a little bit of a junk pile. I mean, they are scavengers. Right across from a scavenging station. And you can see this guy is a little bit of a collector. He has a gnome keeping an eye out on things. And of course a pipe pistol there. And some alcohol after a long day of scavenging. Now let's take a look at the little balcony we built. Now these guys are doing pretty well for themselves. You can see there's quite a bit of food laid out, as well as some comic books, and looks like a board game there. As well as some chems, of course. I mean, it is the apocalypse. You might as well have a good time whenever you can. Now over here, we have another little balcony area on top of the makeshift cave, as well as a fairly large home. I imagine this guy is probably one of the better scavvers we have here. I mean, he was able to get a whole shipping container over here. Looks like he has some scavenge holotapes for a little entertainment. Some alcohol and a pipe pistol, of course. Oh, and a little stash of caps. That's pretty nice. It is a little bare, but I figured they probably trade a lot of the stuff that they're able to get, unless it's extra valuable or meaningful to them. So over here we have a little cooking area, and you can see there's some fresh food laid out. Again, Abernathy Farm is just right up the road. And that's quite the spread they have there. Well, I guess when you have that many scavvers working together, you're able to come up with quite a bit of stuff. Now we have one more area to look at. Here we have two of the more private shacks, at least in this cluster of homes. Of course, they have their own turret keeping an eye out. As we walk up the ramp here, we can see they have some electric lights. That's pretty fancy. And of course there's some food laid out, as well as a little seating area. A dog keeping an eye out as well. Looks like this guy has some caps and some cigarettes. Over here you can see some buff out for dragging heavy scrap back, as well as a little ham radio and some holotapes there for entertainment. And this guy has a little bit of jet, as well as a pipe pistol to go with his great view of the road there. And then heading down this road, you can see a great view of the rest of the settlement, as well as the camper we built earlier. If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and leave a like. Subscribe if you want to see when my next video goes live. I'm not sure where that build will take place, as I have 2 build competitions that I'm working on, as well as this place and Starlight. So I guess the next video will be a surprise for all of us. Leave me a comment below if you have any ideas or thoughts about this build or any of my other builds, or you just want to say hi. I do read all of your comments and I do respond to as many as I can. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video, and until then, enjoy your time in the Commonwealth.